Hello everyone. So I'm back today to talk about my February wrap up. I have read, actually I can't tell, I think 8 or 9 books in February. It's me another day coming up to say that I actually did manage to erase the first part of the my review of Lorraine Hansberry's book play, actually. A Raisin in the Sun. So I'm back to tell you just the beginning of it, an introduction. So this play was written in 1959. It takes place in Chicago among a family, and there's the mother, Ruth Younger, which is also the grandmother. She lives with her son, Walter, her daughter, and her grandson, and her daughter-in-law. So they all live in that small place in Chicago, and they just found out that Walter Sr. Actually has passed. Her husband has passed, and she's going to actually receive a check of $10,000, which is huge. Back in 1959, it was a huge amount of money. And for these people that are, still working hard, Walter, the chauffeur, the son, she's doing, I think, laundry. I think her daughter-in-law is also doing laundry, so they need the money. I mean, the grandson sleeps on the couch, and it's hard for them. So this is it. And but what happens is that Walter, he's fed up with his life. He wants to be an entrepreneur, and he wants to invest the money, the check, in a small business with his friends. His mom is not on the same point of view. She wants to spend the money differently, but the son is really getting really upset about it and very, very tense about it. So the play is telling you what's going on in this family within a few days. So the mother, as Ruth, as a grandmother, has other plans, for our family, and but the pressure of her son is so big that at the end she decides to, trust him, and things will happen. I won't say the end. It's a very short play, I think, but 140 pages. I read it like in a go, I was hooked immediately. The play also actually is very modern, which is surprising because it was written in 59. For instance, of course, you have the racism that shows up at one point in the play, but you also have like feminism, which is really something that you wouldn't read or think about in those days. But like, for instance, I didn't mention that the daughter of Ruth and the sister of Walter is also living with them. Yes. And she is actually studying at university to be a doctor, and it's something that our brother doesn't understand, because to him, women are either mothers and wives or nurses, but they don't become doctor. So yes, our play, Lorraine Hansberry's play, is very modern, very sharp. I really liked it. The dialogues are really good. The tension is really set up and rises as long as the play goes, and the ending is really good. So please, if you can, read Lorraine Hansberry's play, A Raisin in the Sun. This is my first play in years, and I don't regret it at all. The next book I want to talk to you about is The Barrowfields by Phillip Lewis. The Barrowfields. It's a great book. It's not a great book. It's an awesome book. It's actually the book that my most favorite read of February, and my most favorite read of 21, I think. I had this book on my shelves for the past 2 or 3 years, and I really wanted to read it when it came out. But then I think maybe along the way, I read a mixed review or something, and the time, passed, and it came out in French too, actually, with a beautiful cover, and I still wanted to read it, so I bought the book, but I didn't. Time went by, and then last month I really wanted to read a book that I could actually dwell into, and I thought that the story was interesting enough, and it was a great decision. Okay, it was my best decision ever. You see all the little notes I made. First of all, the writing is just whoa, stunning. I think I haven't, I've read great authors. I have very favorite authors, Steinbeck or Faulkner, or big famous authors. And then when you read a debut novel this good, you're like, whoa. And Phillip Lewis has made it actually into a great book, a masterpiece, I think. And actually, one of the critics actually said the same thing about it. I do believe it's gonna be on the list of the the best 100 books of the century or something like that at one point, because it's a great book. The atmosphere is so good. There's a little bit of Southern Gothic in it because of the house. But other than that, it's just a story of this boy and his father and their relationship. And Henry Astor's character is definitely one of the most powerful characters I have read in a long time. And it's definitely gonna be on my top 10, favorite books of all time for me. As I can't say any more about it, because I really enjoyed that book from the beginning till the end. I never thought for a while that it was, too slow, or that it was too long, or that it should be edited. To me, everything was perfect. And his sentences, his writing are really powerful and really good. I could have made a video for that book alone, but I don't want to tell too much about it. I just want you to know that it was just like an amazing read for me. I will say that it takes place in the South, and it starts in the 60s. Henry Astor was born into not a poor family, but in the South, in the Appalachians, where reading was not considered a good thing. But the boy loved to read, and he would read anything, he could actually put his hand on. He would steal books from the library and read and read. His mother was really worried. His brothers didn't know who he was. He wasn't into sports, but he finally made it, and because of his, talent, and he made it to the university, where he actually became a lawyer, because you had to become something. But his whole life, he had one dream, just one dream, to become a writer. And he started to write his own novel, his life, into a novel. But then his mother got sick, and he was really, really close to his mother. So he moved back to the South with his young wife and their young son. And you see their lives, he buys this huge house, Gothic house, very scary house. But inside there's this huge library, beautiful library. So to him, it's just like the Grail, because he can, buy more books and books. And he spends all his time reading and writing. His wife accepts this way of life. His son is a little bit troubled by this man, because his father is this very silent, quiet man who spends all his time locked up in his library writing. So he tries, to engage into a relationship with his father. And they don't have very much in common, but they love to read, both of them. So they grow, together, until one day the father vanishes. I won't say anything more about this book, but please read it very fast. If you want to read really a good book, compelling, with a very amazing writing, please pick it up. I have also read Louise Erdrich's last book, The Home of the Future God, which was translated into French, L'Enfant de la Prochaine Aurore. when I received it, it was sent to me by the publisher. Very nice of him. I was a little bit worried because I have read Louise Erdrich's books before, and this time she chose a theme that we're not used to see in our books, and I was a little bit worried because it's not really my type of books, but I said, why not? I knew that Louise Erdrich's writing style was, to me, really good, and I wanted to give it a try. In this book, actually, there's like this pandemic going on around the world. So it was written before the pandemic. So it's not our fault, but still, it does touch your heart because you pretty much know the subject. But but in our book, the pandemic is actually a terrible one because it touches the genes, and the human genes are actually receding. So it's like the human brains are actually not, expanding, but getting smaller. And the animals' genes are also actually changed, and they evolved into different animals. So yes, it's a weird pandemic. Biologists can't do anything about it. With the disease, actually, you think that the babies who are born into this world are gonna be different human beings. So one point to the next, one day all the pregnant women are actually chased and locked in some places, in hospitals and everything, and they cannot go out, and they lose touch with their families and loved ones. And you meet one of them. Her name is Cedar Hook Songmaker. She was adopted by white parents, kind of hippies. I mean, they gave her that name that, their last name is actually Songmaker, but they named her Cedar Hook because she was born in a reservation in Minnesota. So they know that, they didn't tell her, but they know her real mother. So the girl grows up in this very loving family, but when she, gets pregnant herself, she wants to know who her real parents were. So she goes to that reservation. She finds out who her mother is. And this part, it's at the beginning of the book, is really good. I mean, the characters are well, written, developed. I love the way, she goes to find out that her name Cedar Hook, which is like, very flowery. Actually, her real name is like a very regular, even white name. I think her real name is Annie something. So there's nothing, magic about it. And even though our family, or biological family, is awesome, there's nothing really, magical. And she goes there at the same time as the government, is starting to chase pregnant women. So she makes it back to Minneapolis and tries to hide with her boyfriend for a few months in her house. One day she's arrested. I won't say anything anymore about this book. Of course, it's hard not to think about Margaret Atwood's La Servante Écarlate. I think it's the Handmaid's Tale in English, because of course there's a lot of references, pregnancy, babies, women, authoritarian government, everything. So you think about it, but it didn't stop me from reading and appreciating the book. I was really hooked to to Cedar's story, actually. The rhythm is there, actually. It's like thriller. I mean, when she gets arrested, I really, really wanted to know what was going to happen to her. And I read that book really fast. I think it's a great read. It's unusual for Louise Erdrich to go into that territory, but she managed it well. So if you want to read it in English, of course, you can. So this is a book, Louise Erdrich's. And in French, it's called L'Enfant de la Prochaine. But then the other book I've read is the Book of Harlan by Bernice L.McFadden. So this is a book cover, a beautiful book cover. I've had it on my shelf for at least 3 years. Yes, it took me that long to actually read it. And the Washington Post says simply miracles. I won't say the same, but I still really enjoyed it. Let me talk to you about it a little bit more. So the story of Harlan's starts in, I think it's in 1917 in Macon, Georgia. So he's born into actually a pretty good black family. His grandfather is, head of their church in their city, so he's very well respected, and they have a nice house, and so it all should be fine. But his mother is actually the daughter of the pastor, and she was probably 17 or 18 when she gives birth to Harlan. She's very young. She's fallen in love with a carpenter, a young man who was just traveling, looking for a job. So the marriage is, is done, but it's not like what our parents, dreamed of for her. So they're a bit disappointed. And their daughter wants to actually leave Georgia because she doesn't like, the segregation going on, and she wants to be free, and her husband as well. So they moved to the north. But they leave for a few months and then they come back because actually things are hard even in the north, and it's hard for them, and it's really hard for Harlan. So they do that a couple of times, and until one day the grandmother says, why don't you just leave Harlan with us and just move back to the north and try, to make a life over there before you come back and to retrieve Harlan. So that's what they do. And 10 years later, actually, they have succeeded, and they have moved to Harlem in New York City because I can't remember her name, but Harlan's mother, sorry, but her best friend Lucille has become a very famous singer, and now they live in Harlem with all the stars of the black music at that time, the jazz and blues and everything. So you're in the 30s, late 30s, so everything is going well. Harlan is 16 when he finally moves back with his parents in Harlem, and he loves the life over there, and soon he finds out that he's actually a good musician. So he's invited to go on tour with Lucille, so they tour, and he comes back to Harlem, and he's like this very young man who, enjoys his life, meeting all these very famous, black singers or musicians, and he's got the easy life. His parents are, of course, very protective of him. It's their only son, only child, and everything is going well. He meets Lizard, it's a nickname, which will become his best friend, and Lizard plays a trumpet. And at one point, Harlan wants to start his own music band, so that's what they do. They hire a singer, female voice, and they start, doing their little shows. And at one point, a producer notices them and invites them to go and play in the French Harlem, which is Montmartre in Paris, which is a place where, all the musicians, Miles Davis, all the Louis Armstrong, Josephine Baker, all the black musicians would I eventually go, because out there you could play and actually stay and eat in the same places as white people. In France, we didn't have a segregation, so for them it was a really nice place to go. So Harlan wants to say yes. Lizard is a little bit worried because we're actually in 1940. And in 1940 it means that the war has started in Europe. Germany has invaded both Poland, Belgium, France. So France is occupied by Germans. But Harlan isn't scared. The music is starting to be played again. The bars are open. The restaurants are open. So he doesn't see and he doesn't know about what was going on with the Jewish people. He has no idea. So he's told that everything is going well in France, so they decide to go there. And of course, something terrible is going to happen to Harlan and his best friend Lizard, and they will eventually be arrested by the Germans, the Nazis, and they're going to be sent to a concentration camp in I don't remember if it's in Germany or in Poland, but somewhere, you know. So this is the story of Harlan. The book of Harlan is written in the same way as All the Lights We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. So I'm not sure if you've read it, but it's a great book. With the same actually time period, because we're in the 40s between Germany and France. So it does, you know, have similarities. But the similarity here is about the pace and the narrative and the length of the chapters, because the chapters in this book are really, really short, like 2 or 3 pages most. So you read them really fast, which is really nice too, because sometimes, you know, when chapters are really big and, you know, bulky, well, you don't, you're like, oh my God, you know, another one, another heavy chapter to swallow. These ones are really, really short, like Anthony Doerr's books. So you just read, and it's a fast, you know, pace read, which is really enjoyable. And also, of course, the history itself and the story of Harlan is really hard and heavy, but it's well written. Oh yes, the writing is really good too. So you are actually into his life, and you want to know what's going to happen to him. I also really enjoy the way she tells Lizard's story at one point in the book. My only issue with this book, but it's mine, so maybe you won't actually even notice it, is that I didn't really like Harlan, okay, the main character. He's so self-centered. He's so into his own pleasure, his own needs. I mean, he's gonna go through terrible things in his life, because this thing is not the only nightmare he's gonna have to go through actually in his life. So, you know, it's just the start of a harrowing life. So, but in spite of that, in spite of having all these, you know, terrible things happening to him, he doesn't really change. He doesn't grow into a different human being. As we say in French, he doesn't open his eyes, okay? Usually when something really bad happens to you, you just open your eyes, you know, you just feel conscious about your life, your privileges, your luck, if you have any luck to come back alive. You are also more tolerant. You feel more empathy towards other people. But no, he's still self-centered and egoist. And well, that's my point of view. And so, like, just before leaving for Europe, I won't tell you what he does, but it's already a sign that, you know, he's not really aware of what's going on with him, and it's in his private life, in his love life. When he comes back, as I said, he's in terrible shape, and yes, he's going through a terrible ordeal, but it's always about himself, his pain, not his parents, not his friends, no, it's about him all the time until the end. Even the ending, I have to say, I was a little bit puzzled. I should maybe read it again, because at one point I missed something. Okay, I know what's going on at the end. I know what he does, and I know he feels crazy about, you know, getting away with it at the end, but still, I have no idea how he finds out who that person is. I clearly missed one point. But it's my opinion, because other than that, the book is really good. It's a fast, you know, pace. It's really well written, and you really want to know what's going to happen to him until the end, so don't worry. It just wasn't like with the Barrowfields. Like, I loved Henry Astor's father and Henry's the son. I to me, they were almost real people, you know, like they've become like real people to me. And I miss them. I miss not hearing about them or not being in their life anymore. But Harlan, I don't miss Harlan at all. Okay. I miss Lizard. I miss Harlan's parents.